record-breaking season, ending in the Premier League title for Pep and his men. So this was pretty much the obvious move, wasn't it?
Well, my immediate question was only 2 years, 2-year extension, roundabout 2-year extension.
Playing it safe, you know how the Premier League is these days.
Well, maybe Pep's playing it safe. Maybe Pep's saying, look, another couple of years, you know, to 21 is probably enough for me. But I mean, if you look at what he's done, a few question marks last season about, you know, some doubters, but this season, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, 32 wins in a 38-game season. I mean, very similar away records to home record. It's just, it's the way that he's gone about it. You know, he's developing players, developing Sterling, and Fabian Delph as a left-back. I mean, come on. There's nobody in world football saw that coming. And, you know, he's got himself in the World Cup squad. So what Guardiola's done at Man City, you know, as he said, quoted earlier this week, maybe add a couple of players. It just tells you where that squad is. So maybe City wanted him for a little bit longer. Maybe Pep's happy with this 2-year extension, let's call it that.
How can he better a season like this? Because like we said, he broke all the records, at least in the Premier League. So is the Champions League the one thing that he's missing to add to his reputation that's already glittering?
Well, glittering in the Premier League, yeah. I'm sure that he was upset going out in the Champions League to Liverpool. I think he learned some huge lessons from that. I mean, it's all about breaking records. I mean, I had a bet with Stephen Nicol. I didn't think that they'd get beaten. Nicol did, thought they would, so I owe him obviously something. But yeah, it's just pushing it a little bit further. Can they repeat? Very difficult to repeat the Premier League. Can he take them further in the Champions League? That's exactly what the ownership and what Pep will want to do. So hopefully they avoid Liverpool next season and move on. But I think that'll be his goal, Champions League.
All right, thanks so much, Paul Mariner. You know what, they say that it is easy to get to the top, but it's more difficult staying there. And I think at least Pep has till 2021 to keep City there.
He said that until 2 weeks ago, his mind was made up. He wasn't just, you know, leaving Juventus. He was going to retire altogether. He was mulling over the possibility of staying at Juventus to be groomed for some sort of executive role in the future. And then he says that, you know, he received an offer which really stimulated him and which he found really enticing. And he certainly, and then other offers came in as well. So, you know, he's certainly mulling over the possibility of being back next year.
But why leave Juventus, a team that, you know, he wears a crest in his heart, is through and through. I mean, realistically, how much can he offer other big clubs? And if it's just one more season, why not just live it out at Juve?
Because I think we saw it this year, right? He's always, over the last 4 or 5 years, he's always, you know, cup games and this game here and there, he always left it to his backup. This season, Wojciech Szczesny, who, you know, had been a starter before and who is considered a very good goalkeeper by Juventus, he played a huge amount of times. And I don't think Buffon's ever been in that situation where you know, he sat so many times. So I think it was clear that from the club's perspective, they have decided to move on as well. And he says, I'd rather go somewhere else where, you know, fresh start. I might have a year left, I might have 2 years left, but I want to go, you know, where I can write a new chapter.
All right, let's go to Julian, because one of the rumors that we are hearing is that PSG are interested in Gigi Buffon. Julian, do you know any more on that?
Yeah, I was told again tonight that there was a lot of truth in that. They need a goalkeeper. They want a goalkeeper anyway. The problem they have is with financial fair play. They probably can't afford a Jan Oblak or Thibaut Courtois, because they also want a couple of other players in key positions, and they couldn't be able to splash another 200 or 300 million euros like they did last summer. So their hands are a bit tied up in terms of, you know, spending the money. And obviously with Buffon, they wouldn't have to spend any money in terms of transfer fees, only in wages. So, you know, it became an attractive option for them. I'm not convinced, I have to say, I'm not convinced, you know, by Buffon going to PSG, simply because why would you delay for another 2 seasons getting a younger goalkeeper and not doing it now? But I can see why they're attracted with him, like they were with Dani Alves last summer, for example.
I hate to be disrespectful of Gigi Buffon, and I'm not going to do so.
Steady, Gabs over there.
I defer to the goalkeeper legend here, in Casey Keller. But what I would say is that if you watch Gigi Buffon over the last couple of seasons and objectively evaluated him as a goalkeeper, it was clear, no doubt about it, that his best days were behind him. And it's gotten to the point to where those mistakes are happening more and more often, to the point to where you have to ask the question, maybe he's not good enough anymore. Not to play at that high level. Is he a legend of the game? Of course. Has he been one of the best goalkeepers in the history of this game? Yes, he has. But we all get to a point to where it may just be time to turn the page, and he is at that stage right now.
Casey, should he just hang it up once and for all now instead of just flirting with the idea of coming back and playing?
I think there's a difference between playing for the national team, playing for Juventus in Champions League semifinals, and maybe going somewhere else that you can just kind of play a couple seasons and be Gigi Buffon.
But PSG, PSG is not the place to do that.
Correct. That's not the place to do that. So if he really wants to play, I mean, obviously it depends on salaries. It depends on what he's asking for. If he just says, look, I want a different experience. I want to go somewhere. I want to be in LA. I want to be in New York. I want to be in China. I want to be in Saudi Arabia. I want to be somewhere to do something different. Great. But if he's saying, look, I need 10 more million to play another season, then I think Ali has a point. I think he's not at the top of his game to go to the top flight.
I think also, though, let's not forget, 3 of the 4 goalkeepers of the Champions League semi-finalists were Sven Ulreich, Loris Karius, and Keylor Navas this year. So, I'm not saying goalkeeper's not important, but context.
Well, 20 years ago, France won the World Cup. 20 years on, can they do it again, Julien?
Yeah, I think they can. I think the Euros, they came so close with a disappointing final, and they have, I think, the perfect mix of the experience and then that incredible young generation coming through with Dembele and Coman and Mbappe and all those kids. So I think they have the potential. The question mark is the manager, Didier Deschamps. I'm not sure if he has the right... He has the tools and he has the personnel. It's in his mind. It's in the approach that he has to games, including the Euros final, where he was so cautious that even when they went dominating, he still told them, don't all go forward, be cautious, be careful, don't do this. And I'm not sure that's the right approach to win a World Cup.
But I want to ask you about this because, I can justify being Italian. I can obviously justify the being cautious thing. If you're better than the opposition, over time you'll win. But I wonder if Deschamps has a problem in the sense that he has too many options and he can be prone to second-guessing himself. Because, people in England always say, oh, he doesn't know what his best 11 is. Justifiably, he can't know, I think, right now, what his best 11 is. He has to go and see this. And every time he's going to have to make these tough choices and wonder, do I go with this guy or that guy? And that is the one thing that would really scare me, because he's not a guy with a very strong defined identity.
I don't think too much depth is a problem. If you can pick between 20 amazing players and only 11, surely that can't be a problem. And that's his job.
Well, you can't have too many good players.
Exactly, it's impossible.
Yeah, but you say that, but then what happens is when you drop a superstar, as he did in the last Euros, when he decided that Pogba didn't fit and he dropped him, then there's a backlash, and then there's the French media, and you guys in football don't always really mix anyway historically, and second guesses, and then he gets a complex in his head, and then
that man management, that's his job, man management. As much as the tactic it is, if he drops Pogba, he did it at the 2014 World Cup, he did it at 2016 Euros, then it's his job to make sure that the next time he plays him, the guy is good and the guy sort of
you trust him to do that.
But that's the thing.
Is Pogba still a problem? Because we've seen at Man United he's a problem for Mourinho. He can't quite find a way. And so is Pogba going to become France's problem again? Is he going to be the key question? Are they going to win the World Cup with him, or do they have to drop him? Or
it's not even a question.
Does he play or does he not?
Yeah, there's no question. Can he not play? He will play. Him and Conte will play, either with Matuidi as a 3, even just a 2. Him and Conte, him and Matuidi. He hasn't been very good the last 18 months, but
this is the thing with France, isn't it? Because Pogba, Dembele, Mbappe are all still quite young, and does this World Cup not feel like it's just 2 years too soon?
But Pogba, I'm sorry, I love Pogba, as you know, I'm a Pogba fan here, but he's 24 years old. He's played
2014.
By the World Cup. He will have had 2 years at Manchester United as a starter, 3 years at Juventus as a starter. I mean, at what point are you still too young?
No, but he doesn't come across as a player that should be he should be at 24. At 24, like you say, he's an experienced player approaching his prime, but we still don't know what his best position is.
He might be lifted by playing for France at the World Cup. It almost might be an escape from the troubles he's been having.
But as
Jules
was saying,
United.
he's been dropped in the last 2 tournaments by France, so that isn't a happy
dropped,
for him.
but then the minute the going got tough, they went back to him.
Yeah, and the reaction was good because he responded well. So
are France any better than the team who couldn't get past Portugal in that final? Are they going to stumble when when push comes to shove a bit?
I don't think they've improved. I don't think they're worse, but I don't think they're better either, because they're still looking for, are we better on the counter-attack? Are we better when we have the ball? Are we better in position? Are we better in 4-4-2, which is the system that Deschamps likes a lot, with Giroud and Griezmann up front? But you can't bench Mbappe and you can't bench Dembele if he's on top form, even Coman. So do you go 4-3-3 then, and then you drop Giroud? So like Gab said, there's a lot of questions, but that's Deschamps' job. You know, he has to find the right answers, because this team can win the World Cup.
Isn't it strange that you mention all these players that have come through over the last 2 years, and you still say France haven't improved as a team?
Are they strong enough at the back to...
I think Umtiti and Varane will play. I think they'll start. I think Umtiti, Varane are perfect. Lloris at the back, a very strong back five. And then you put, like we said, Matuidi, Pogba, Conte, and then a front three. I mean, it's pretty, you know, I think it's a pretty strong team. And
they can win it, can't they? Let's be honest, guys.
They
can win it with that bunch of players.
Yeah,
if they get it right and they're all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, but I'm with Gabby. I think Deschamps struggles with too many options. And I think he seems a very reactive coach. He always kind of reacts to something that happens and then he changes it, rather than having a clear idea of how I'm going to play. These are the people that I really rely on. Most managers, even if they're very sort of meritocratic, have an idea of who their players are that they really trust. And with Deschamps, I'm not sure.
Are they a together group, Julian? Because, I mean, thinking of what happened in South Africa, it's a unified camp, is it? And I'm going to sort of walk out mentally.
Please. Don't even remind me of that 2010.
I have to.
Nah, mate, yeah, but no, I think the unity is there. That's the thing, and I think they really feel they want sort of a revenge after 2016, and I think in terms of motivation for the players, there'll be no problem. The issue is, again, the choices that Deschamps can make, and we saw, for example, in Sweden, where he went with Sissoko and Payet when we had Dembele and Mbappe on the bench, and everybody was wondering, like, why on earth did he do that? And then they went to lose that game. So,
I mean, it's amazing it's 20 years. I mean, it doesn't seem like 20 years since they won it in 98, but one thing I remember from that tournament, how kind of average France were until the final. You know, the Paraguay game and the group stage, they weren't great. The Croatia game, but obviously we remember it being a great team because they beat Brazil in the final, but they kind of... They didn't blow people away.
This France is much more exciting than the 98 France. But there's no Zidane in this one.
There's no Zidane.
There's no Zidane.
But someone
not
else might
many
step up.
Zidanes, are there?
No. But, you know, I think Kylian Mbappe, for all the pressure that he will be under, whether he starts or he's a, like, super sub, he showed so much maturity already that he could be the Thierry Henry was in 98, and then maybe Pogba could step up and be that leader that Zidane, in a different position, different style, was in 98 as well. And I think, like I said, all the components are there. If Deschamps can put them all together and make them work, then I think we have a great chance.
One word.
It's one word we say.
Yes.
He doesn't do one word.
All 32 nations can win the World Cup.
Oh, here we go.
Oui.
Merci.
Yes.
Merci. Yes.
Yeah, I know your answer. Yeah, I think they can.
Hello and welcome into Extra Time. I've got Casey with me, Ale, Paul, and Gab. Julian is also joining me. So, guys, ready to get into some questions? We've got some. Oh,
Let's do this.
Gab.
How convenient.
No, you know why? No, can I explain? So normally, I'm on the other side of the ocean. There's a delay. Burley and this one and the nickel, right? They go and
they're thankfully on vacation.
And it's hard to get in, but now I'm here in the studio, so I can better
Burley
impose
and
myself.
Nickel, so that's
yes, I feel a little safer. But I can impose myself.
Ask him a question.
The mood is still positive, right, Alex?
Exactly.
I don't even get a last name reference. It's this one. That's it. That's all I get.
Lana didn't know your last name.
But when
whoever he is.
when
Get
you
personal here. All right, guys. Julian wants to get about his business, so let's start.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry.
Segar Salvi wants to know, Paul Mariner, what are your thoughts on Mikel Arteta as the next Arsenal manager?
No.
Wow, tell us how you really feel.
Solid.
Look, Arteta has a bigger role at Manchester City than I thought. I thought that Pep had taken him in just because he knew the Premier League, just helped him out a little bit. I was wrong, but I don't think he's ready, and I could be way off the mark. I don't think he's ready for the manager's job at the Arsenal. I think that squad needs a shake-up. I think it needs discipline. It's too easy for them. People take too many games off. They need a big-time boss going in there.
Gab's making a face over there.
What do you mean making a face?
I think well, one thing we need to, whoever gets it next, what we have to remember is that we've gone from having one almighty Arsene Wenger micromanaging everything to it's going to be done by committee, right? Raul Sanllehi, Sven Mislintat, Ivan Gazidis is going to take on a bigger role. If Mikel Arteta comes in, whoever comes in, he's going to have to work within that framework. So the idea of the boss coming in and shaking the tree, there's already people there who've been doing a lot of shaking.
But is that a reason why they're maybe going to somebody who doesn't have
that
maybe a bigger name, because there are two, because somebody else is going in there and going, I'm not letting these people make decisions for me and then make the decision to fire me as well. I'm coming in, and if I'm choosing players, I'm making sure that I am responsible for everything that happens if it's going to be my head on the block if things go wrong.
But that's something I think that's going to have to consider, because you know, you said he's taking on a bigger role at City. That's fine. But again, at City, you've got, you know, Soriano and Begidi-Stein upstairs, and you have Pep, and you have Brian Kidd, and you have Estiarte, and you've got a whole bunch of people who've been doing things the same way for a very long time and have been very successful at it, and you're inserting yourself into that. So
you're saying if Arteta gets the job, he's going to be dictated to by the higher-ups, who's going to sign? I mean, what sort of a job is that?
It's the way most managers in the world work.
Well, let's get Julian's opinion on this. Julian, what do you think? Are you a fan of Arteta at Arsenal or not?
No, I think he has the potential of becoming a very good manager one day. I'm just not sure if he's ready right now to make that step. We talked about step before with Patrick Vieira. I think he's, you know, in many ways it's a bit similar. I'm not sure if he's ready to go from being an assistant, albeit of Pep Guardiola and at City, to get a top job in a top club like Arsenal. Even if he knows the club very well, he knows the people there, you know, he will be managing some players who he was teammates with before, and when often things were not always being great between them. So I think that's not going to be easy either. So I'm just not sure. I'm a bit more with Paul on that one. I'm not sure he's ready for that.
How awesome would it be, by the way, to have managers or assistants taking jobs as first-time managers? How awesome would it be if Rui Faria were the next Arsenal manager?
Really not that awesome.
I would love it. That would be straight to WWE stuff.
It'd be great for Tottenham.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on now to Samba Sandro. I like that name. Oh, but this one, he's actually talking to Julien. Julien, he wants to know, Martial with 11 goals and 10 assists, better than Lemar and Giroud. Does Deschamps have an agenda against him? Why is he not on the World Cup team?
Yeah, it's interesting. We said earlier on the show that his season never really got going. He felt like never really got going, despite some, you know, okay numbers. Deschamps has a problem with his attitude. We saw that at the Euros, where he was not playing much and he sort of gave up halfway through the competition. He was not really interested. He was not really bothered. We saw that more recently when we went away to the Netherlands to play them, where they had a clash the day before the game on the touchline at training. Because again, Deschamps was looking at him and saying like, well, you don't want to be here, you don't want to train, what's wrong with you? And I think the attitude, the behavior of Martial when he's been with France has been an issue for Deschamps. And you know what, for the World Cup, why would you take someone you're not sure is going to have the right attitude, is going to be 100% committed if he doesn't play? That's what Casey was saying earlier on the show as well. And I think that's the main reason why he's left him out.
Sort of rules to live by.
Don't take off your manager?
In a World Cup year, you get called in for a friendly in preparation for a World Cup. You may not want to have this sort of discussion with your manager.
Yep.
Because those things, you're giving outs to manager. You're essentially saying, okay, let me give you an excuse as to why you shouldn't pick me. So then that decision becomes a whole lot easier to make for Didier Deschamps. And you just grab onto that and say, you know what, this guy's going to be a headache. See you later.
And Giroud has proven his ability to come off the bench and score goals. And I don't see him starting for that French team, but you got a proven guy that's willing to be a good squad player to come in and contribute when needed to, and to prove that he can contribute at the highest level. Fantastic.
Ooh, plus, you need, this is football, right? Having one genuine center forward who's actually a center forward in the team, which none of these other guys are. You know, makes sense, right?
Yep. All right, let's move on to Honey now. And they want to know, Is Antoine Griezmann among the best 3 players in the world, like what he said the other day after the Europa League match to the press? Would he make it in your guys' top 3?
No.
Ali, of course, to be the first one to say no.
No, well,
Plain and simple.
So, okay,
Because you
Cristiano.
have Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo.
And then you can have your choice. You can have,
Neymar.
I'll take Neymar before I take Griezmann. I'll take a lot of players in Real Madrid before I take Griezmann. I'll take a lot of players in Barcelona before I take Griezmann.
And that's without even getting all the players at Man City.
Yeah.
Like an Aguero.
Yeah.
Leroy Sané.
Yeah, De Bruyne.
A lot of players in
Excuse
Roma
me,
before
Egyptian
Griezmann.
Messi. Mo
Manolas.
Yeah.
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah would have to be right in that conversation as well.
Well, you love his confidence. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself. I think he's pushing himself a bit high, though.
The thing about Griezmann, though, there's also a confidence thing going on when you consider how he started the season, those first 2-3 months, especially at club level, not Griezmann standard, and then to come back with the rip-roaring end of the season he's had.
The one thing I really do like about Griezmann is he's bought in to defending. Where he's going to go and he's going to help his team, and that's obviously what Atletico's about. He's not.
But he's not really got a choice.
I know, but he's not just standing up there saying, "Okay, I'm just about scoring goals, and you all have to do this work so then I can get 30 goals a season, 40 goals a season." He'll put the shift in for his team, which as a goalkeeper, obviously I appreciate.
Can I just tell you, this may not be something that we can relate to, but he is very popular with the young kids because of the Fortnite celebration.
Hang on.
Yes.
That we can't relate to. I'm still a young kid, but since we're talking about a French
you know what Fortnite is?
I do know what Fortnite is. I've even played this a couple times.
Oh.
Since we're talking about a Frenchman,
Did you
let's
win?
go to a Frenchman. Julian, yes or no, Griezmann in your top 3 in the world?
The French in me has to say yes. Of course I have to say yes.
Oh, no bias.
Brilliant. That's good value.
But no, I agree with the boys. I would pick other people before him. Although, like I've said, 16 goals in his last 18 games for Atletico. He's finishing the season really strongly. And if he has a good World Cup, then he'll be back in contention. Don't forget, 2 seasons ago, he finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or behind the 2 monsters. So he's not that far, and I think he needs a good World Cup now.
All right, well, let's move on to our final question now. I have to go to Paul Mariner first on this one. Ahmad wants to know, why has Jack Wilshere been snubbed for the World Cup? He's been brilliant this season.
What?
Paul Mariner, please make a case for Jack Wilshere.
I can't make a case for Jack. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody can. I mean, it's an obvious.
Ahmad can.
Ahmad clearly can.
He's been brilliant this season.
I don't know if Ahmad's been watching closely, Mr. Wilshere, but he's not been absolutely ripping the games up. Look, you see, we're talking about Griezmann, one of the best players in the world, working back defensively and doing it at the other end of the field. That's exactly what Jack's not done. He hasn't produced. He hasn't.
But that's not why he was going to be there. I mean, the reason Wilshere was a debate was, look at these England central midfielders, and you've got commitment and whatever, but who can actually pass the ball? And that's why you've got.
So you're
down to Shelvey, who's got a whole bunch of other.
Is he going?
failings,
No, he's not going.
Or Wilshere, or in the end he said, you know what? Let's have nobody who can pass, and we'll just beat you further up the pitch with Sterling and Rashford.
Exactly. So with that point, Lars, do you have any issue with the
Is that not an
England
insult
squad?
to Henderson? Henderson said, look,
come on.
He wasn't. Hang on, just hold your horses. He in my book, he wasn't a very good player, but what Klopp's done with him in that central midfield is remarkable.
Did he become a sudden, intricate, creative passer? No. He has a different game. He plays a
keeps
different
things
position.
going. So how are you going to play Wilshere in the English squad then?
Well, the thinking
With
was...
who? With who?
Like, I would have taken Wilshere either, but the thinking was, one of the issues that England's had in the past is they played people who put 8 people in the box and they parked the bus. And so at that stage, you need that magical creativity that's
going to come from Jack Wilshere?
or John Joe Shelby.
Oh, come on, mate.
Can provide. That was the thinking.
Paul Mariner called Ale Moreno an idiot earlier. He was about to assault.
I apologise for that.
I apologise for that.
You did call me an idiot.
Stop making people bully you.
You're a little tense.
Well, look, when England comes up, and I know everybody piles on, I've got Burley and Nichols screaming at me all the time. And by the way, I don't think they're going to the World Cup. But anyway, having said that,
this is like...
This is when England is very close to my heart, and I know they're not going to be that good. I know that.
You know what, Maris? You're the only one sat at this desk that has a country at the World Cup, so it's okay.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's okay, so you can sleep.
So
you've got two countries to choose
Ahmed, look, mate.
And I have 2 countries to choose from. And
Ahmed, look, forget Jack Wilshere. He's not the answer for England. He's not the answer for Arsenal. He's not the answer for England. So,
Shelby.
Look, they can't risk him with any more injuries, so sorry, Ahmad, but Jack Wilshere, no. All right, anyways.
He's been brilliant.
If you want to see more
Is he
of
kidding me?
arguing, just make sure to tune into ESPN FC tomorrow. We'll try not to argue as much. Actually, we won't, but we'll be looking ahead to that FA Cup final between Manchester United and Chelsea.
Daily? What?
The great Gigi Buffon has decided to hang up his gloves at the end of the season, or so we think, because he has hinted that he's not quite done with football, but he's at least done with his time at Juventus. Paul Mariner is here with me. Maris, if we just have a look at all of his accolades and fancy titles that he has to his name, these are some of them staggering. Plus, he is a World Cup winner overall. That's the big one. But this is what he's achieved at Juventus. So what's his legacy? What's he leaving behind?
Well, I mean, it's hard to put into words. When you look at, factoring also 176 games for the national team, that's a decent career. Look, he's done everything. I mean, it's the way that he went about it. Just that little blip.
He has an aura about him.
He does have an aura about it. Just that little blip against Real Madrid where the referee wasn't too happy about it, which is fair enough. He's showing his passion.
It shows the passion on his
for the
love,
game.
exactly.
And you could see when he was in goal. He drove the side on, making great saves. But if somebody made a fabulous clearance, he was always there to support. I mean, it's just his persona, his whole, the way he went about playing the game was absolutely sensational. Where is he? Top 10? I mean, look, there's been some great goalkeepers. Dino Zoff, Yashin, way back, the Russian goalkeeper, Gordon Banks, Clement, Shilton, Manuel Neuer, we're bringing it to modern era. So he's definitely up there. But it's the way that he went about it that I think, when you say Gigi Buffon, you think about winner and a smile on your face.
That's true.
The way that he does it.
Well, hopefully we do get to see that smile a bit more. And there are hints that he has, because if I'm reading a quote from Gigi, he says, "I'm proud to have received many proposals for the future." So, Maris, where could he go? Do you think he can still play at a top flight team?
If he wants to, yeah. Yeah, but it's...
So he still has, what, a season to offer?
Maybe more, but why leave Juve? I mean, why leave? There's nothing going to match Juve. I don't care where he goes, which football club, because it's in his heart, Juventus. He should either go into coaching, he should become an ambassador for the club, but look, only he knows what his body feels like. When you're getting up every morning to go to training and going through what you've got to go through as a goalkeeper to be a top keeper, it's not easy. And whether he wants to do that, there's no need to do that, but whether he wants to do it, only he knows that. But if it was me, with that career, I don't want to taint it, I'd jack it in.
All right, thank you so much to Paul Mariner. So we will see what Gigi Buffon's next move will be. But for now, Maris doesn't think he should have left Juve in the first place. England have released their 23-man squad for the FIFA World Cup this summer, and someone who knows what it's like to suit up for the Three Lions is Paul Mariner. So, Maris, I do have to get your opinion, because probably the #1 criticism we're hearing is that it is defence-heavy. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I think his hand's been forced, to be perfectly honest. I mean, who else are you going to include? I mean, if you look at the lads who are on standby, I mean, do they really... warranted inclusion? I don't think so. I think, look, going forward, everybody is hoping that Harry Kane gets the service and plays as well as he possibly can. Then you've got to get support up to him. You've got to get up the field. I think there's so many questions that Southgate has to answer. I don't. Maybe he hasn't got the answers just yet. Who's going to be in goal? I personally would go with Pope. I would. From Burnley, because he's made very few errors. When the number of goals that Burnley have let in, he's not been at fault for many. So I like him. I like his steadiness. Who's he going to play at centre half? Is he going to play a 3? Is he going to play a back 4? What is he going to do? We're not quite sure. My guess, he'd play Rose and Walker bombing on as fullbacks. But who's going to fit those key, 3 defensive positions? Is he just going to play 2 and drop Dyer in? I hope not, because Dyer needs to be a bit further up the field protecting. I think the spine is going to be Tottenham. It's going to be Dele Alli, Dyer, and Harry Kane. And who do you get to support Harry? This is a bit, lots of questions about this squad.
A lot of questions, indeed. Well, one of the questions a lot of people have been asking Gareth Southgate is if the quality of England's attack is actually good enough. If we have a look at some of the strike force, there you see Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy, Raheem Sterling, Welbeck, Marcus Rashford. Let's touch on Danny Welbeck. His inclusion, you've seen it on social media, Maris. A lot of people have been laughing about it. Do you think this is a worthy inclusion, or does this just pretty much speak to the fact that England's strike force is not the world-beating strike force they need?
Well, the Hurricanes are world-beating strike force.
And that's it.
It is. I mean, we've got to face facts. Look at Danny's record at international football. I mean, look at Danny's record with Arsenal. He doesn't actually bang them in, regularly. So, look, he's a plan B, plan C. We know what he brings when he comes off the bench for Arsenal. But can you do it on a massive stage of the World Cup? The only two players that are playing regularly there are Kane and Sterling.
Well, speaking of Kane, then, how would you play him? Alone up front?
I think you've got to get people around him. If you talk about different areas of the field, in the middle third, he's going to hold the ball up for you. That's one of his massive strengths. But you've got to get Harry in the box. So how we're going to get Harry in the box, you've got to get faces around. So when the ball's played into him, you've got to have players with energy that can get up to him. Now, can Sterling do that in that role? Slightly different role to Manchester City. Dele Alli, we know that Dele Alli can get up there, but can he be released early enough from a defensive posture to get up to support Harry? Otherwise, we're never going to get out. We know what Harry can do when we get in the box, and then it's all going to be down to Walker and Rose getting into those wide areas, putting balls in the box. And are they good enough to put decent service in the box?
Well, I guess time will tell. Thank you so much, Paul Mariner. So still a lot of questions Paul Mariner has for Gareth Southgate with the World Cup just under a month away. What do you make of this one? Do you see Vieira leaving things stateside here? Ale, I got that right, and heading over to France?
Yes, I do. I think he feels ready now to come to Europe and get a job here. I mean, it's no offense to MLS or to New York City FC. I just think he feels ready, and also he knows that if one day he wants to get a top job in Europe, like the Arsenal job, he needs a stage in between. I don't think he can go from MLS directly to an Arsenal or to clubs like this. I think he needs to prove himself in Europe as well as in MLS, like he's done, but also in Europe. And I think for him, coming to Ligue 1, for example, would be perfect for that. And Nice, obviously very interested, although they also very much like Eduardo Berizzo, the former Sevilla manager, who I think is slightly favourite ahead of Patrick. But Saint-Etienne, who are on the verge of being taken over by US investors, are also very keen on Patrick Vieira. And so is Nantes, who parted ways with Claudio Ranieri this week. And Nantes are also very keen on Patrick. So he will have offers on the table. Then it's down to him, obviously, to decide what's best for his career, but I really feel he's ready to come back to Europe.
Ooh, Case, Ale, Maras, do you think Julian's got it right, that there's no way that he can go from MLS straight to an Arsenal job? He needs something else in Europe?
Well, I think he also is looking eventually to maybe take over from Pep at Man City. He was there in the youth setup. That's where he kind of finished his career. But I think it is MLS has come a long ways, and it's continuing to grow, but it is a step going from MLS to a team that is looking to be a perennial Champions League team on that side of it. I could understand where maybe a step in between makes sense.
Well, it makes a whole lot of sense. And if you're Patrick Vieira, I think you want to take that middle step, a little layover action and see, okay, what is it that I need to learn from this that perhaps I didn't get to learn in Major League Soccer? Major League Soccer has provided me with a foundation. And now I'm sort of using that foundation, taken to a different level. And if you can improve upon that at Nice, then I'm sure that he'll be able to take it to a different level entirely. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. For NYCFC, though, it's a big miss. Because this guy had done a tremendous job for this club.
I think there's another element, I think, with this guy, which is that he is a planner. So he's obviously been within City Football Group, back in Manchester and in New York. But let's not forget, prior to that, he has the Arsenal legacy. He has a legacy at Juventus. He's in touch with the Milan people where he was when he was very, very young. I think he knows the way football works. It helps to have friends. It helps to have options everywhere. And going back to France, where he hasn't lived or worked, since he was 16 years old, I think that's the right challenge for him at this time. Whether, as Julian said, whether it's Nice or somewhere else.
Maris, at Arsenal, who would you rather have, Mikel Arteta or the big man, Patrick Vieira?
Everything that I've heard since Patrick Vieira came to this country has been positive. Everything he does in the dressing room, everything he does around the team, everything he does on the training ground. I tend to disagree with the lads. If they're talking about taking Arteta, then I say take Patrick as the gaffer and take Arteta with him.
See, I think you can do that when you're a club legend. I think you can come into a club that you've been there for so long and everybody knows you and they know who you are. I think if you're going to a club where you're kind of unknown by the supporters, then I think you need to take a step. But I think he could do it, but I think optimally he would love to have a step in between that. But there's not very times when you get the option, when there's the opportunity, and a club like Arsenal are saying, we want you to be the manager. How do you turn that down
also,
if they
let's
do
be clear, you know, Arsenal legend, yeah, but he left Arsenal, what, 14 years ago, 15 years ago?
And there's a lot of work to do there.
He's been in a lot of different places in between, and it's a big rebuilding job.
But it's a pretty good time at Arsenal when he was there.
Oh, yeah.
The fans won't forget that at all.
It's also a pretty good time to go into Arsenal if you think about that the bar is pretty low.
Oh.
And the expectations, pretty low.
Oh.
And so if you're going to build a project...
Tottenham guy, I'm not talking the Arsenal guys over there.
This club needs a Patrick Vieira at the helm. They need somebody like this to shake the tree. It's too comfortable at Arsenal at the moment. Now, whether Arteta has got it in him, no, hearing good things about him at Manchester City. But I think if you put those two lads together, I think you've got something, because Patrick, he doesn't suffer fools gladly. He knows exactly what he wants. As was it Julian said, he's a planner. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows where he wants to be, where he wants to go.
You sound like his agent, Maros.
I'll be his agent, absolutely.
I don't think you can win the World Cup playing 4-4-2 formation right now, because you're going to get destroyed in midfield, for example. So will he adapt? Will he keep the 4-4-2 for the group stages? And then when things get a bit tougher, he switches to 3 in midfield to have a bit more bodies in there, and also play Paul Pogba in his best position on the left of that 3 in midfield. There's a lot of question, and as talented as this squad is, and you know, and all those young players and more experience, there's a great balance, I think, in the team. The question mark, the biggest one, is over Deschamps, because he made mistakes at the Euros, and for me that cost France the win eventually, and he will have to get it right this time if France wants to achieve at least, like we said, a semi-final, which is the objective, and maybe higher than that. Deschamps has to make everything spot on, all the right choices for France to get far in this competition.
Well, and one of the trickiest parts when you have such a talented squad is, you know, to Gab's point, is a pecking order. So if you have a guy that's saying, well, I'm not a sub, and now in this squad you find yourself come the first match, and now you're not in the starting lineup, are you going to be a distraction to the rest of the team? Is there going to be issues going on? It's not as if the France squad in the past hasn't had some problems off the pitch. I think we can go back to Korea for some interesting scenes. So yes, there's
or South Africa.
Or South Africa as well. So there's times when, yes, this team has to be united. And Deschamps, I think one of his biggest tasks for this World Cup is to get all 23 players in the right frame of mind, not just and that has to be, who are your starters, who are your subs, who are your guys, because you're always going to have 3 or 4 guys that aren't even going to be in the plans. They're there just to be part of the squad, and they have to be as important as doing things right in training, doing things right match day, not being a distraction to the rest of the guys.
Deschamps has got to be a tremendous communicator. He's got to pull the boys to one side. If you're not in the starting 11, the boys have got to be told why, and he's got to come up with the right answers, because then this can really melt away very, very quickly. This squad is absolutely a phenomenal squad. It's almost, well, it is a player in every single position. So he has got that luxury. He cannot afford to make mistakes with the selection of the team, and he's got to keep everybody on board.
This team, though, has something going for them. All of us as players have used failures as a motivation to get us going forward, to try to achieve bigger things. They fail in the Euros. Yeah, they get to the final, but you lose that final, that's failure for
At
you.
home.
At home.
Yeah.
So now, do you use that as that motivation? Do you use that as a learning experience? Did you actually learn something from that experience and then now put that into work in the World Cup? Or do you use that as like, oh my goodness, I don't know if we can deliver in the big moment? You certainly hope, if you're a France fan, that this is a group of players that have learned from that and now can use that to propel themselves forward because of the motivation, because of what it means to them, and because of the opportunity that they have in front of them.
Well, Julien, let me just put this to you then, with everything that, of course, everyone has said. Semi-finals, if they don't make it at least to the semi-finals, would that just be a massive failure again for France then?
Yeah, it will be a failure. It will be. That's the objective they have. Deschamps, the French Federation. That's what the objective they have set the players is to get at least to the last four. If you look at the group stage, and then if they finish first of that group, the potential fixtures going forward, I think it's very doable that they go to the semi-final. And then once you're there, I think anything is pretty much possible. So there's a lot of hopes, there's a lot of expectations, there will be a lot of pressure on this squad and on Deschamps to deliver. Because of all the talent, as we said, and because it looks like it's all in place for them to do well. So yeah, you're right. No semis would be a huge failure.
Julien, one thing I wanted to ask about is, and this is something people have talked about in the past, is the importance of leadership, especially with a potentially a fractured squad. You look at this, apart from Hugo Lloris, maybe Griezmann, maybe Umtiti, potentially Pogba, but we don't even know if how much he likes Pogba and whether he's going to drop him. Could there be an issue of veteran leadership if maybe Matuidi gets dropped, or how is it going to pan out?
Yeah, and Koscielny's injury in that way, Gab, is a huge blow, because not that he's the most vocal, but he was one of those leaders that Deschamps relied on a lot, and he won't be there. So you're right. I think Varane, as good as he is a more introvert, than extrovert. That's not his stuff. Even Griezmann doesn't want to be a leader, and he said that publicly, openly. It's interesting because this week Paul Pogba came out and saying, okay, this is my time now. I need to be the leader of this team. This has to be my team. This has to be my tournament, and I want to be the boss of this team. So, those are big words from Paul Pogba, and let's see if he has the shoulders to cope with all that pressure and be the leader. I would like him to be that leader. But if he isn't, you're right. You might be scratching a bit for, if you go 1-0 down in a quarterfinal with 25 minutes to go, who's going to pick up those guys to go and get an equalizer and then go and win the game? And you're right, psychologically, that might be an issue at some point.
Welcome into our ESPN FC studios. I'm Alexis Yunis alongside Ale Moreno, Paul Mariner, and Gab Marcotti. Now we're counting down to the FIFA World Cup this summer, and we're looking at Saudi Arabia. This is their first World Cup since 2006. They made it all the way to the round of 16 in 1994, and they didn't qualify for the last two. They are in a group with Uruguay, Russia, the hosts, and Egypt. Their first game is opening the entire tournament against the hosts, Russia. So that should be a juicy one on June the 14th. Gentlemen.
And it may just be that it plays to their advantage that they're playing against Russia in that first game.
They're massive underdogs.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that all the pressure is going to be on this Russian team, which, by the way, is not all that great. And so there's also of expectations. You're opening the World Cup. Nerves are going to be with the Russian players. If you're Saudi Arabia, if you're prepared to jump on this Russian team and make sure that you frustrate them and may just get something out of this game that could create some momentum going forward, they have an outside chance of getting out of this group, but they have to get something out of that first game against Russia.
I think it's all about the tactical side. Look, they're massive underdogs. I think Ali's absolutely spot on. Russia is the one game that they've got to target. I think they can beat Russia. Russia are not a very good side. They've got to get the engine room right in the middle of the park. They've got players who play in Europe. They're aware of what's needed. Al-Salawi, who plays up front, scores goals for fun. He needs service. He's got to be on his game, and he's got to put the ball in the back of the net if they're going to be successful.
Gab?
Yeah, I'm broadly agree about Russia because things can turn. You can get this air of negativity around the Russian national team very, very quickly. But then looking past that, Uruguay on paper, a different category, but also I think possibly the kind of opponent that Uruguay sometimes don't show up for because they feel superior or whatever else. And then in game 3, you're facing Egypt, where you got Higazi at the back, Mohamed Salah up front. But remember, a long, long season for Mohamed Salah. If you play them deep, if you sit deep, you give no space behind to Salah, you can maybe navigate through that one. So there's a pathway, I think, in each of these games for Saudi. It's going to be tough, though.
All right. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Always a pleasure talking to you guys. That's a wrap from us. Bye for now.